Hey everyone, it's Types, and 2025, as every year, had a ton of Pokemon cards, and that's always cool. I love looking at Pokemon cards, obviously. This is what my whole channel is about. I just really enjoy it. And today we're going to be taking a look at some of the cards printed this year, and in case you didn't know, the cards printed this year were a little weaker than years in the past. And while this kind of seems bad, it's kind of good as well. And we'll take a look into the design aspects there, and it's going to be actually pretty interesting to take a look at. There are some really cool stuff, some kind of disappointing stuff, and yeah, as I said, the cards are pretty weak, a lot weaker than I thought, or maybe as much as I thought, but they are weaker than the other years, as we'll take a look at. But that's not bad if you're looking for strong cards, because I think this upcoming year is going to have stronger cards, and I'll be making a video on that. I think tomorrow, so subscribe so you don't miss it. It might not be tomorrow, but it'll be very soon, and I'm really excited to take a look at those cards. But before we hop in, first of all, I do want to say I'm a little sick. Unfortunately, Uncommon Fossil, I believe, got me sick. So if my voice is bad, blame him. And secondly, subscribe. I guess I already said that one. But let's just hop right in. And I've compiled approximately like the top 10 cards of the year. You could certainly debate the top cards of the year. For example, this year, the top 10 cards, in my opinion. I'll quickly go through them, and I'm gonna realistically go through the different sets. But we got some trainers, Pokemon, Prismatic Evolutions was this year. When I count cards of the year, I count non-reprints. Um, I don't count reprints that were cards that were already in standard at all. In fact, you could argue that I should include like Boss's Orders in this because they got reprinted with a new regulation mark this year, which is fair. And there's a handful of cards like that. I didn't count it for any of the years here, though. It changes things some, but it doesn't completely change things, right? There's only so many cards printed like that. But looking at these cards, the top 10 cards this year, again, you could like kind of debate these certainly if you wanted to. I kind of just threw this list together, and there might be something obvious I forgot. But if I forgot one or two cards, again, it doesn't change things too much. We have Trainers Pokemon. There are some Megas. I didn't include any Megas on this list. I didn't think any of them were quite good enough, but you could definitely make the argument for Mega Kangaskhan EX to be here. Flareon EX, like Ends or EX Mars Control EX, these are just kind of meh cards. If we look at the metagame right now, we'll take a look at this in just a second as well, but the only top 10 decks we see that are current or that are cards printed this year, you got Mega Absol Box, which contains Mega Absol EX and Cornerstone and Mega Kangaskhan EX, which are both cards printed this year, and those are like definitely okay cards. But I mean, this isn't a true like top deck. We see it as, I guess, deck 5 or deck 5 or deck 6, depending how you group things, which is like okay. Normally that's quite good, but there's definitely a fall off between Mega Absol and the four decks above it. Then Mega Lopunny, I mean, I don't even like see this deck that much. It's definitely an okay deck, but I will talk about those decks a little bit more later as well. But then you have some trainers. Lili's Determination is legitimately a very good card. It's in my opinion, clear top 10 card in the game. I don't think that's going to be controversial really at all. I think it's definitely the best card printed this year. I mean, Badoo was also printed this year. Badoo was also very good. That being said, Badoo was also printed at the beginning of the year with an older regulation mark, so it does count, as in it was printed this year, but in Japan it wasn't printed this year, so that's kind of weird. If you say that's the best card of the year, which I think there's some argument to be made there, um, it just kind of it's not like it's kind of printed this year, but it was in Prismatic Evolutions, which was mostly reprints. Prismatic Evolutions, if you do want to count all those cards being printed this year, then there were a lot of good cards printed this year, but they're all reprints of cards printed last year, like Dragapult EX and stuff like that, which, good cards, but not due to the game there. Also, Air Balloon. Air Balloon, I think, is definitely the third best card, unless I forgot something big. A good card. Definitely a good card in the game. I think it's a borderline top 10 card in the game, but it's not a actually no, it might be better than Badoo actually in my opinion. But it's a good card, but it's not like an absurd card here. Also, I will mention I do have Team Rocket's Petrol on this list. Team Rocket's Petrol has played some right now, and it's like okay. With the rotation of Arven, I do expect it to be a lot better as well. But ultimately, these set of cards are like decent. They are decent cards, but these are the best cards of this year, and they feel kind of flat in that regard. Even a card like Shaman, which is a versatile and universal card, isn't played in that many decks, or isn't super powerful in that many decks. Looking back to last year, this is my picks for the top 10. I actually forgot Buddy Puff, and just remember looking through some lists right before this. Every single card on this list is amazing. All the Pokemon are amazing. Even as a Monkey Dory hater, like in my opinion, Monkey Dory is the worst of the card. Okay, well, okay, if you know me, I think Monkey Dory is like decent, but not like absurd. is it the worst? It's I don't know. Prime Catcher, I will say, Prime Catcher's like kind of fallen off some, or it has fallen off a bunch. But like Pheasant Nifty EX, absurd. Okay, honestly, Shrouded Fable and Twilight Masquerade, most of the cards are from those sets. Um, Shrouded Fable is like one of the best mini sets ever in terms of new cards. Pheasant Nifty EX, Duststorm, Night Stretcher, all in that set. All amazing cards there. Pheasant Nifty EX and Night Stretcher, two, in my opinion, pretty clear top 10 cards in the game, which is very impressive from a mini set. And then you look at Twilight Masquerade, you got Tiamat Sucker EX, you have Dragapult EX, you got Plunderer Saloon EX, you got Monkey Dory. There's some other good cards from that set as well. Even looking at Stellar Crown, you got some good stuff. You have, the Trapagos package is what I'll call it, with some good cards like Crispin, and stuff like that. Then Surging Sparks, you had some like mediocre attackers. Latias EX, a very good card from that set. And Temporal Forces was also this year with Prime Catcher introducing the Ace specs. I believe all the Ace specs were printed this year, if I'm not mistaken, and some other like pretty decent cards from that set. And then looking at the first year of the Sword or of the Scotland Violet era here, you see cards like Iono and Arven, these like staple supporters. Again, we do have Lily's Determination, but Mega Evolution itself didn't have too many staples. It had some, and it had like reprints of stuff like Rare Candy. I believe this was reprinted for the first time in this set with the Eye Regulation mark and Boss's Orders, but an Energy Switch, Ultra Ball, and Switch. But that's like a little less than normal, so even that area it's falling a little short, which is that I'm not counting here. And then you have like Earthen Vessel, Counter Catcher. I'm counting cards that are reprinted that weren't in the game, and Super Odd. And then also you got Cardful EX, Crocodile EX, Pidgeot EX, Charizard EX, and Goldango EX. Those are very good. Again, looking at the metagame, I said there aren't that many new card or new decks. Also, Marnie's is like a deck that's is it top 10 if we group yeah, it's a deck 9 there. Then Ends as well. Another top 10 deck. I will say newer cards tend to be a bit overhyped. I guess it kind of depends, and you can kind of argue that. But I mean, looking at the metagame, Dusknoir, Goldango, Gardevoir, Charizard, the clear best 4 decks in the game. If we combine the play rates, you can look at like there's a substantial gap. This is really big. Normally, you don't see a gap between decks this much. But yeah, those 4, obviously, none of those are new to this year, and none of those even have crucial pieces this year, I don't think. I mean, of course, Gardevoir always has new pieces. You look at the main pieces in it. Obviously, Gardevoir EX is like the main piece. Screamtail EX, Mew EX, Monkey Dory. Those are all cards that aren't new. Same with Pheasant Nifty EX, but then I think the trainers don't have any new cards. There's Mystery Garden. The rest of the trainers are not new at all. Lily's is new. For the other ones though are not new. And then you have Jellicent EX, Frillish. That line is new. There are some like new pieces to the Gardevoir line, but those don't change things very much. Then there is also Mega Dancy EX, and Liz Clefairy EX, which are nice pieces. It is a deck that's gotten new pieces, but looking at the other decks, I mean, okay, I guess Goldango EX has gotten some megas in the decks, but I haven't really found them to be super good, and I've never actually had anyone attacking with them in the decks. Look at Dragapult. Dragapult has does it have a new piece? Oh, this is a Dragapult Charizard list. Not quite what I'm looking for here. Okay, here's like a more, I guess, normal Dragapult list. Not that Dragapult Charizard was crazy. Jamming Tower. No, that was not. This just wasn't played that much before, I think. Yeah, I don't think there are any new cards unless. Or no, there's Lilies. Again, Lilies is a very good card. And Badoo was new as well, as I said at the beginning of this year. But outside of that, not new cards. And you look at Charizard. Oh, I can't look at that list. Charizard, we do see like Noctowl, but that's like not new. That's newer than Charizard. I think the Charmeleon's new. Dawn is new. Dawn's an okay card, but Dawn is one of the better cards of the year. One of the better trainers. Is pretty underwhelming there. So then looking at the last of the decks, which is oh yeah, I looked at Gardevoir already. So yeah, the decks don't really have too much new things going on. Again, Mega Absol Box, I mentioned that earlier. You do have Mega Absol EX and Mega Kangaskhan EX, which are important pieces to the deck, but you also have Cornerstone Master Ogerpon EX, you have Yveltal, those are important pieces to the deck. Monkey Dory, a nice piece to the deck. Latias EX, very important for Mega Kangaskhan EX. Blood Saloon EX, a very good card. Pekrunt EX, also good for Mega Kangaskhan EX and Mega Absol EX there. Obviously, Pheasant Nifty EX, just a really important piece of the draw. Better than Mega Kangaskhan EX, definitely. And Psyduck also was this year. Psyduck's like seen a bunch of play. It's like, I guess, a good card, but also it's very situational. I mean, if you didn't see, along with Uncommon Fossil, we ranked all the best Pokemon in the standard format. And I'm pretty sure Psyduck was on there. It's like a decent card, but it's like relatively situational. Again, not a bad card. All the cards we ranked were good, but Also, it's a promo. That's like kind of weird. I think we're. Wait, what's the regulation mark in this card? Okay, it is I regulation mark, but it came out in uh I don't know when it first came out in Japan. I'm not gonna lie, but it was like I know we were waiting on this card for quite a while. But this deck relies heavily on like Arvin and TM Turbo Energize. Like this is really the TM Turbo Energize deck, I think, outside of I mean some other like Walls decks. Okay, I've like not seen a Golden Go player use TM Turbo Energize. Maybe this is more common, but I've not seen that. But yeah, it's been played in Walls some. Oh, and Iron Thorns EX, which is like kind of Walls, but Team Turbo Energize is like arguably the heart and soul of the stack. A lot of the cards that are just very important to the deck are not new. It has some new pieces, but still most of the shell of the deck is not new. Same thing with Mega Lopunny. Mega Lopunny EX, yes, Mega Canvas County EX, Mega Lopunny EX are new cards. We even see Hilda. Hilda is a nice new card as well. It's a decent card. It's not an amazing card. It's a fine card. But Dustor is super important to the deck. Like Dustor is a huge deal in this deck, and I'd say them being peace within the deck, and obviously that's not new. And then you look at Marnie's. Marnie's Conventional EX. The whole line is new, but Monkey Door and Frostlass aren't new. Those are older cards. So I'd say this is like the best new deck of the year, certainly. But it's definitely not like one of the best decks of the year. It's a decent deck of the year, but it's just decent. And so Zorark EX is definitely going to be pretty new. Again, looking at the trainers, I mean, even see like Cyrano, that's not new. A lot of the Pokemon outside the end stuff, it's not really new, except for Badoo and Big Absolute EX in this list. You do have Janine. Yeah, no, Janine Secret. Actually, no, that's not new. I was to say, like, this card hasn't really seen play before it ends, but I mean, seen a little play with like Roaring Moon and stuff, but we see like older cards that are kind of meh rising to the top with the newer cards because they have better synergies there, but they are older cards. Again, most of these cards are going to be older. The main Pokemon are going to be newer, so you do see some newer decks that are decent, but then you look at stuff like Ceruledge, Raging Bolt, Terravox, and most of these ones here are not new. There are the Megas, but the Megas like aren't very good. Again, these are definitely decks that I say are a little overrated. They're not hugely overrated, but like especially Mega Sharpedo. Mega Sharpedo is a new deck from the newest set, and so it's going to be a little overplayed. It's a cool deck. I do like Toxtricity, and I think Toxtricity is a pretty good card, but for the most part, the cards in the metagame aren't new. There are some new cards, but they're mostly not. Looking throughout the year, though, this is actually interesting because a lot of people complain about power creep. Personally, I don't think power creep's a huge issue. Being completely honest, I'm not really someone who plays in person with regular physical cards. If I'm playing in person a lot of the time, I do proxy because I don't want to spend a lot of money on cards. Pokemon cards compared to some other games, it is cheaper, but if you want to buy like all the decks in the game, it's still going to be quite a bit of money there. So certainly not something that's viable for most people there. And when I say all the decks, like I mean like all all the top 10 decks for like the entire year, which is going to be like a lot, right? Because things like change quite a bit, are all like the top decks. But even then, if you just want to buy one deck, it's some amount of money. And if you want to buy the best deck at any given time, then power creep is bad for you because you're going to spend more money. That's like a big reason against power creep I've heard. It's like, yeah, Pokemon wants to sell their cards. I will say, I don't know how true that is. I know that's a lot, like, that's very true for other games, other TCGs, but the Pokemon company makes a lot of money from not players, right? They make most of the money from not players. They make most of the money from collectors. So then it doesn't really matter what the cards do much at all. I mean, a lot of the most expensive cards are not very good, right? So, or some of them are like alternate arts of cards that are maybe good or maybe not good. So how good a card is matters some, and power creep will kind of help make money a little, but it's not going to help make money that much. And ultimately, people actually playing the game is important for the game to succeed, and hurting the community might actually hurt the money they make more. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's not something that's like the determining factor for power creep. Power creep does change the metagame though, and that can be good. A lot of people can complain that the metagame is stale. I think I recently saw a video by Little Dark Fury, kind of talking about the metagame and how it's not changed too much. And I've certainly seen a lot of videos of that topic by different people there, and it's interesting. And Pokemon's doing this on purpose by reducing the power level of cards. They're intentionally making cards weaker, intentionally going with ideas that people like in the past. I think this is partially because like three prizes, people complained about them a lot in the past. I will say, I think people complained a lot more about three prizes than they should have. I'm always someone who liked three prizes. I will admit they were a little too strong. But they're not inherently too strong, as we can see in the game now. Looking at the metagame, you see Mega Kang. Oh, let me split this up. You see Mega Absol EX, Mega Kangaskhan EX, Mega Lopunny EX, Mega Sharpedo EX, Mega what are the other ones down here? Mega Venusaur EX, Mega Lucario EX. These are all like they're not very good, right? Like some of them are decent, like balanced to kind of bad, and those are like the quote good ones, right? There's ones that are worse. So that being said, there's like a lot of bad cards in the Pokemon TCG that just aren't very good or interesting. And actually, unfortunately, with the beginning of next year, there's going to be a lot of like filler in the first set. I think it's very big for a mini set or like a special set, but there's a lot of like filler. Which we do see generally in the first set, like the special set that's at the beginning of the year / the end of the year in Japan. So, that's going to be kind of meh there, but then we're gonna, I think, see some more powerful cards and see a bit of a meta shakeup, because with rotation also we're gonna be, of course, losing a lot of good cards, and this is Pokemon kind of flushing these cards out of the meta game because people have kind of wanted them to reverse power creep. And I've heard some people complain about power creep with the megas, and I just cannot agree. I've heard when these cards are revealed, people are like, Mega Venusaur 380 HP, what? But Mega Venusaur, it's not that good, right? I think if you think Mega Venusaur is overpowered, like it's not overpowered. I mean, I guess it's stronger than the average card, but the average card, as I said, just is not that good. Comparing it to the Metadax, like the true Metadax, Mega Venusaur is like, it's not very good compared to him, right? Its healing is not very good. Its damage is like also not particularly good, and it's a 3-prize H2. Also, this is something I might make a whole video on. People just misanalyzing cards, like having a high attack cost and being an evolution and giving up 3 prizes is like bad. I think this is like kind of obvious, right? But like I've seen people just like ignore it. I mean, even with a card like Monkey Dory, it takes an energy attachment. People just like ignore the energy costs of it, or something like what's another card people? I mean, Meganium, Mega Meganium EX. People have said that card's really good, and it's very expensive in terms of energy. Or it's like relatively expensive in terms of energy. It's not free by any means. So, they make these cards that can be splashy, but they look exciting, and cards that look exciting are cool, but they are balanced. They're very fair. I think Mega Venusaur is very fair. I do think we will see a 400 HP Pokemon. This is kind of like a side note. I don't think it's going to be very good, but I mean, I don't know. I think we'll see him. Actually, no. I was going to say we'll see a Mega Wailord, but Mega Wailord doesn't have a card. I think we might see a 300 or 400 HP Pokemon, but I don't actually know what the megas are that would have it. I mean, Venusaur is a traditionally tanky Pokemon, so it needs to be a Pokemon that generally has higher HP than Venusaur, which I don't know exactly what that is that has a Mega. But if someone knows, tell me in the comment section. Or if you don't think we'll see a 400 HP Pokemon. But ultimately, having a little more HP, doing a little more damage, like how much does that matter? It matters some, but specifically the damage thing does matter. But like having a little more HP, people will definitely overreact to that at times. And yeah, I mean, again, just looking at the decks this year, they've been kind of meh, which can be cool. The designs haven't necessarily been bad, though I will say there was a focus, or I don't know if it focused, but they introduced Trainers Pokemon. Trainers Pokemon, I will say, in my opinion, were disappointing. Though I've talked about that in the past, but I definitely know there are a lot of people who have liked the concept of Trainers Pokemon a lot as well. I've more so don't love the concept. It's just kind of fine in my opinion. That being said, they did a bunch of these. Again, Marnie's has been like decent for the most part, though they haven't had super good synergy with one another. Oh, I will say there are some more coming out next year. Some more trans Pokemon. I thought they were just going to be in the first two sets. They're mostly in the first two sets, but there have been a few after that. But like Enzoric EX has some synergy with the Ends Pokemon. You kind of need Ends Pokemon to use it, but it's not like crazy synergy. It's more if you're familiar with the Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike, and Single Strike Pokemon. It's more like the Fusion Strike mechanic as instead of the rapid strike or single strike mechanic. The difference being Fusion Strike had, not in terms of power level, I'd say they're closer. I mean, I'd say they're worse than any of those. Maybe closer to single strike, but Fusion Strike had a handful of cards that were really the core of the archetype, and then Rapid and Single Strike had a bunch of different cards that were the like different parts of the archetypes, or in different archetypes there, which was pretty interesting. I definitely enjoyed that more. And there's more choices to be made in deck building by the players that were interesting in terms of choosing what cards you want from the mechanic. There still are obviously different ways to build something like Ensoric EX, but most of the interesting decisions you're making don't really have to do with the ends Pokemon. They mostly have to do with the other cards like the trainers and the Pokemon you're pairing with it, which can be fun. But at that point, then it doesn't matter that it's an ends Pokemon, right? But ultimately, the trans Pokemon have to be built in a certain way, and this limits them, right? Unlike something like Dragapult EX, Charizard EX, etc., where they're kind of meant to be built a certain way, kind of, sort of. But there is obviously versatility. Same thing with like Trapgos EX. Trapgos EX, a card that was really built around in the set it was printed in, which had Noctowl and Fanrotom and Crispin and Sparkling Crystal. And some of those work very well with it. I guess they're actually all played with it right now in Standard for the most part. But then you have other things you could do. You could pair it with the Ogre Ponds. You could pair it with Pikachu EX. And you could do a lot of really interesting things with the Yen stack or with like any of the trainers Pokemon. The Yen's is like probably one of the worst examples. Like Ionos or like something like that, or Marnie's. Like you can't really pair it with anything. Marnie's accelerates a ton of energy to Marnie's Pokemon. So if the other Marnie's Pokemon aren't worth running, then you're going to have a relatively flat card in terms of card design. But on top of that, you're also going to have a card that's if it's not really good at the way it's intended to be played, then it's not going to be good at all. Ultimately, though, this is fine. I think Pokemon is moving away from that a little, and people were, as I said, very excited for it. So I am happy that Pokemon did that, I guess, for other people there. But then moving on to Destined Rivals, same idea. Destined Rivals, by the way, I've opened a handful of packs. I don't generally open too many packs. For some reason, I've opened more of this than like any other set. Terrible set to open, like in my opinion, because like every card is a trainer's Pokemon, or not every card, like a lot of the cards are trans Pokemon cards, and those are not very good for them. I mean, there are some good ones, right? I'm a big fan of Cynthia's, but there's like half the. I mean, there's so many Team Rocket's cards, right? And there's so many of the Team Rocket's cards are like super just generic and not very good. But that takes away from the other stuff, the more universal supporters. I mean, Team Rocket's Petrol, as I said, was like I think good, but I don't actually know. I mean, in terms of how much it's played right now, it's not that impressive. Then you look at like Team Rocket's Giovanni, Team Rocket's Archer, Team Rocket's Ariana. These cards are powerful within the deck they're played in, which isn't a very good deck, right? So there are some cool things going on with them, but it's not super crazy. We also see Black Ball and White Flare, I will say, are like decent sets for mini sets. They're pretty big, or special sets. They're big, but they're not super powerful. They're fine. But then you look at the megas. Honestly, we see a similar design philosophy. We see a mega of every type, and then almost every type has a trainer or a handful of trainers to support it, like Fighting Gong, Force of Vitality. This is a way for them to kind of change the metagame and what types are good. And I don't really have an issue with this, but I will say that I don't know, it feels like they're really doing this, which is kind of similar to the trans Pokemon. Certainly, you have more options than the trans Pokemon. Like Mystery Garden can go into various different decks. Obviously, you're most looking at Gardevoir there. Same with like Iron Defender. You're looking at like Gold Dingo, where it's just not even very good, and to be honest, but there are definitely a handful of really, really cool cards from this set, but they are more limited in terms of you need to be playing them in a specific deck. And same with Phantasmal Flames, which I'll end here with Phantasmal Flames. Of course, the last set of this year. And this set, okay, I'm interested in obviously hearing people's thoughts on how good they think these cards are in the comment section. If I'm like missing something here, like if I forgot a card or underrating or overrating certain cards. But like Phantasmal Flames is really bad, right? Like Phantasmal Flames, the set's like I don't know. I'm always excited for new sets, but so I like kind of hyped myself up for it before it came out. But like this set kind of is terrible, right? There aren't like any good cards in the set, or like there aren't any super good cards in the set. There's some like fine cards. There's like Dawn I mentioned earlier. There's I guess Battle Cage is like good, but it doesn't do that much. I'm a big fan of Blowtorch. Like a Battle Cage is like useful sometimes, but it's pretty situational. Blowtorch is fun. There's like a handful of like okay trainers. There's Mega Dance EX, which is like an all right piece in Gardevoir. It's it's not like revolutionizing the deck, but it is a useful piece. But for the most part, well, also Rotami X. Rotami X super fun, not very good, but very fun. But you know, having fun cards and having good cards, those are pretty different things. But Pokemon is making their cards weaker, and this is good in terms of removing power creep. Theoretically, again, I don't think power creep's terrible, but oh, Moltres, I forgot about Moltres. Moltres is decent. But overall, I do I'm happy that Pokemon is doing it. I think this will be good for people, because again, a lot of the cards are like not super powerful, though there are some very powerful cards being revealed for next year, which I'm very excited for. Not the Megas though; the Megas are not very good, but I do hope they make the Megas a little better. But they are kind of tempering things because of the tag teams and VMAXs. But tell me down below in the comment section what your thoughts are on the cards printed this year. If I missed the mark on anything, if I was super accurate, and if you enjoy the cards this year. As I said, I did enjoy the cards this year, and there are some really cool decks. They didn't change the meta too much, which is ultimately, I think, very intentional. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the good stuff. Hopefully, I'm feeling better for the next video as well. So hopefully, it'll all continue to improve. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.